Welcome to our first ever Aviation Sales and Marketing Executive Brief. And we're beginning at the very beginning, which is phase one, choosing your advertising mix. So I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams, the guy on the right.
And we are ABCI, Aviation Business Consultants International, and ABCI's mission is
to help you guys sell stuff easier and faster.
Exactly. So we do that by discouraging random acts of marketing, which are the typical way that things are done in the aviation industry. People basically hear from an advertising salesperson and that has something that sounds like a great deal, and they say, sure, let's throw some money at that, see how it works. And, there's really a much better way of making decisions about where and how to advertise. So ABCI's method is really a kind of a textbook back to basics marketing system. Phase one is advertising and prospecting. Phase two is building credibility and closing sales. Phase three, referrals, resales, and recaptures. What is different about the aviation industry is that we have a really long sales cycle. So we need to build a really sustainable system that will communicate very credibly with customers in a low-key, highly effective sort of a way. So starting with phase one, we're going to take a closer look at the items in this diagram, and your results, as they say, will vary. Everybody has a slightly different marketing mix. Everybody has some different blue arrows, in different boxes in here, but everybody has a phase one, and everybody has some blue arrows, whatever they may be. Those are really the first contact that someone from the outside has with your company when they want your product or service or have a need.
And these arrows are actually fairly basic for today's marketing process because everybody has to be on the web to be credible. And you're always going to trade shows in aviation. And you should be doing videos. And we'll talk about direct mail and referrals.
Exactly. So these are some fairly standard ones, but yours, of course, will be a little bit different. Every advertising media has strengths and weaknesses. So, and we argued, John and I arm wrestled about just about every single square on this matrix, but this is an executive brief program. So this is a vast simplification of something that we could argue either way on any of these items. But,
and if you need more specific data on any one of these or how to choose or anything like that, give us a call.
Exactly. So, but some generalities can be really helpful when you're putting together your marketing mix. You really want to have very different media because they'll have, as an example, if credibility is the thing that you really need, then print ads are your very best option. On the other hand, if speed is your number one concern, or quick results is your number one concern, then social media is really hard to beat. If you really need to have measurable results, social media are the easiest to measure. On the other hand, if you're looking for an all-around really fantastic player, direct mail is a really good option because it's pretty good at almost everything on the matrix and not really bad at anything except maybe being virally spread. It's hard to pass around
no, but it does give you a quick interface into your website and your social media.
Right, and it can also,
if designed properly.
Right, it can also be interacting with your other advertising methods. So, like I said, it's a good all-around player and plays well with others. A lot of us think about marketing in this particular way. We use the fishing analogy, right? And if you're on vacation, you have the luxury of just putting one line in the water and waiting for a nibble. And even if you don't catch anything all day, you still have a fantastic time. You're enjoying yourself. It's beautiful outside and all of those things. But most of us don't have that luxury if we are in the sales or marketing industry. We really want to look for something that has a more robust structure to it. We really need to have more lines in the water We really want to be trying out new baits, and we really need to have lots of nibbles and lots of catches so that we can support our organization and make sure that we're supporting our bottom line in a way that's a lot more systematic than just having one line out there. All right, so let's say that you've chosen to do a magazine ad. How do you decide which magazine you should be advertising in?
You do research.
Unfortunately, it involves some homework. So this is a spreadsheet that we put together for a client that wanted to advertise in one or more of these magazines. They had an idea of what their customers typically read and wanted to look at these for. So the things that we looked at are relationships, and we blanked out some of this data and removed some of this data just because it is from a real customer. Do we have relationships with reporters? Are we currently running an ad? How is it doing? Those kinds of things would go in the relationships row. What is their circulation? The larger the circulation, typically, the more they charge for that. We also want to look at the demographics of those people that are reading the magazine. What level in the organization are they? Do they really match our ideal customer? Do we need to influence people higher or lower on the totem pole than what you're seeing here?
So I have a stack of magazines I'm interested in. How the heck do I get this information?
Okay, you request what's called a media kit from the magazine. Usually you'd either click the advertising link on their website, or you'd pick up the phone and call the advertising sales department and say, I would like to have a media kit. And I'd also like 3 issues to look at so that I can go through them and look for some of this information. Members of our executive brief program already have the editorial calendar, so you have the upcoming topics and events, and those are listed in your binder just before the tags. So you can look in there for different topics that are of particular interest to your particular customers. And you can pick those things out and decide, wow, this one really has a lot of topics that are of interest to my customers. So, those are kind of interesting to look at as well. And you'll also want to look at rates. How much can you afford? And would it be better to put, in this case, maybe you could do a less expensive ad, but do more of them. Maybe that would be more effective. So there's lots of things you can do with rates that are better. And the last thing, and not the least, is competitor ads. You can see this company had competitors advertising in these 2 magazines. So that leads to 2 potential strategies. Either you want to go head to head. If you've got a really compelling argument that your product is better, you may want to go head to head against your competitors and run a competing ad. If you want to fish in less busy waters, then you may want to go with one of the magazines that your competitors don't have ads in, and see why that is. But in either case, you want to look at those potential strategies as far as, are your competitors not advertising there because they have a slightly different demographic than you do, or do you really have a stronger offer and you really want to go head to head? You can go either way with that, but you want to make good decisions for good reasons. So once you've placed an ad, or you've done some type of a marketing or advertising in any fashion, how do you know whether it's working?
Ask people when they call in, or when you contact them, or whenever you communicate. Ask them.
Exactly. And have a little sheet next to the phone so that you can note down or put a check mark next to the source that they tell you. And keep in mind that they will only tell you the last one that they remember. So if they found you on the web, but they also got a postcard in the mail, they'll probably mention the postcard because that's the one that they're holding in their hand when they dial your number. But you definitely want to ask. Regardless of how they found you, you also want to look at the data. And this is from Google Analytics, which is a free tool. You can see here how people found your website, whether it was a printed ad or some other electronic media and so forth. So how I got this report is I went to Google Analytics, the acquisition category, and the name of the report is called All Traffic. And what this gives you is a list of all of the traffic that's visited your site and where they came from. So in this first column under source and medium, you can see all of the places that sent you traffic, and you can have it list as many as you like. The first one, Google Organic, of course, is people that typed a keyword into a search engine. Your company came up, they clicked on the link, and here they are. The second one, Direct or None, that one is more likely that they either clicked on an email link or they have a business card or a postcard or something like that, and they typed your company directly into the browser on their computer. T.co, this one is really interesting because there's a lot of people that don't take Twitter seriously because of its name. But if you're looking for traffic and you're looking for high quality traffic, especially from the media, Twitter's fantastic because it's really easy for them to search and data mine. So that's a great place to get some good public relations and media coverage. So don't ignore Twitter if you're thinking about doing so. LinkedIn, also very, very influential, and we'll talk about quality of traffic in just a minute. This here is a URL that we purchased, or a domain that we purchased as a redirect to push traffic to a particular page on our website. Now, I could use that in a print campaign. Say I'm using an ad in a particular magazine, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of the traffic that's referred by that magazine ad. I could use a specific domain to make sure that I'm keeping track of that separately. So, there's lots of these things in here. Another quick thing to note, and John, you were mentioning something that you saw in the New York Times today.
Yeah, apparently somebody just did a poll or study or whatever, but they figured out that 50% of online usage these days is done on apps.
Apps, exactly, like Facebook or others. And you can see what those are. They come with a letter in front of them, like m.facebook.com. I think that's the mobile version that's on your phone. People are clicking links on that and coming to our website.
What that means is that if you don't have a mobile interface along with your standard website, that you should upgrade to have that available.
Right, because if your website looks terrible on a phone, a lot of our clients are now getting at least 25% or more of their traffic from a mobile device. And if it doesn't look good on a very small screen, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot with up to 25% of your traffic. One more real quick thing. Aviation Service Directory is a directory for our clients. We've established that for our executive brief members and our consulting members. So you have an ad on there if you are one of our members, and you should be watching for traffic from that as well. All right, so to get into a little bit more detail on some of these columns, the first thing we want to look at is sessions. And of course, that's the total number of people coming to our website, which is, of course, interesting. The other things that we want to look at have to do more with quality than quantity, and that's our bounce rate and number of pages per session. Now, what a bounce rate is, it's called a bounce when somebody comes to your website and bounces immediately out without clicking any links or doing any scrolling or anything like that. And that indicates somebody that just came there and probably didn't find what they were looking for, or maybe just read a real quick article and left. So we want to look for a lower than average bounce rate. On this page, it looks like our LinkedIn has a lower than average bounce rate, and so that makes us happy. And we may want to spend more time and energy on LinkedIn, getting more traffic from there. A higher bounce rate, sometimes there's a reason for it. We send out emails every Monday with a particular article. So a lot of people just come in to read that week's article and then they leave. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but we know that, those are just folks that come to see us all the time. Number of pages per session, that tells us specifically, people that were using this URL or this domain visited 3.7 pages. So that's a particularly high number, and we know that campaign is doing pretty well. All right, so another way to measure results, we can take that a step further beyond the Google Analytics. This is a customer that was doing some pay-per-click ads and had some questions about how effective those were. Now, you look at the surface of this, the Google pay-per-click, in the top line here, they have a whole lot of traffic from Google pay-per-click. So they were feeling really good about that and spending a lot of money and thought that this was a fantastic thing. But then when you look a little bit deeper at what happens to those folks, we actually take the number of users, which is a slightly lower number, and how many of those users actually requested pilot training information. That actually ends up being a very low percentage. We calculate the lead quality by the new users divided by the users who requested pilot training information for this purpose. So we ended up with a much more disappointing number than they were expecting. And if we were advising them on how to spend those resources, we would say, take something that has a much better lead quality, like your Google Organic, or maybe these folks who are other flight schools that are referring traffic to the page. And you can see those leads, while not as many of them, have a much better chance of turning into good leads.
If you think about 25 cents per click, which that's how they charge, and that's just picking that number out of the air because it runs from pennies to dollars. Mm-hmm. At 20 to 25 cents per click on 14,000, that's a lot of dollars.
Well, and a lot of keywords will charge you $1, $5, $10 a click. Yeah. They are, getting more competitive on those things. So, yeah, you want to look at lead quality as well as number of sessions. Okay, so action items from this session. You want to use a diverse mix. More is better. This is one of those times when less is not more. More is more. You also want to double down on things that work. When something doesn't work, you want to reduce, eliminate, or fix it. You obviously don't want to keep doing things that are getting you a low quality of leads or anything else. You want to evaluate your choices carefully, but do try new channels because the market's always evolving and the demographics of aviation are changing pretty significantly. A fair test is 3 to 6 months. You don't want to be bouncing around too much. One of our clients said the only time he notices ads in the magazines is when they start running and when they stop running. So you want to be very careful what you start because people do notice what you stop, and you don't want to make your company look like it doesn't know what it's doing or that it's flailing around looking for a solution. Measure results, rinse, and repeat. So what's next? We have a lot of these short videos. These are the 4 that are coming up this month. Great calls to action, an example campaign, your first interaction with a prospect, and we also have a panel discussion coming up where we're going to have people actually talk about some of the solutions that they've done in their company, so it won't be just us kids talking. The next short video is going to be about calls to action, and that's basically what you do once they leave those blue arrows. What do you do with people, and how do you get them to respond, and how do you engage with them to make that really worth it? So thank you very much for joining us. We're really glad that you're participating. Do take a moment to leave a comment or drop me an email and let me know how you like this new format and how it's working for you.
This one was a little less than 20 minutes. We expect to be between 12 and 18 on most of them. Thank you. You could.